Thomas Boman joins me this week for a special episode recorded at Jay's Brewing in Manassas, Virginia. This is BeerSmith episode number 126. This is BeerSmith episode number 126, and it's late May 2016. Thomas Boman, the owner of Jay's Brewing in Manassas, joins me this week to discuss owning a local homebrew shop. Thank you to this week's sponsor, Anvil, amazing kettles, burners, and accessories to help you forge the perfect beer. Anvil is a new line of brewing equipment from Blickman Engineering and endorsed by brewing author John Palmer. Anvil is durable, reliable, a quality line of brewing equipment that's built to last. Find out more about Anvil at anvilbrewing.com. Again, that's anvilbrewing.com. And also, Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine. You get 6 amazing issues each year, packed with information for brewers and beer fans. This month's issue has a detailed focus on saisons, as well as brewer profiles and beercation ideas. I encourage you to check out this great new magazine for homebrewers at beerandbrewing.com. Again, that's beerandbrewing.com. And also BeerSmith software, the industry standard for home and professional brewers that lets you design great beer recipes and brew with confidence. Download your free 21-day trial today from beersmith.com. And now let's jump into this week's episode. Today on the show, we're recording a special episode from Jay's Brewing Shop. Thomas Boman joins me this week to discuss owning and running a small homebrewing store. Thomas has been brewing since 2012. And he bought a small homebrew shop in Manassas, Virginia in April of last year. And you now run it with your wife, right, Thomas? It's great to have you on the show, man.
It's great to have you in the shop. Yeah, good.
It's fantastic. I don't get to do too many of these things out in the wild here, but it's great to come out. You know, you're close to where I live, so it's great coming out here.
Yeah.
So, for 5 years I've been doing the podcast, and I have never sat down with an actual homebrew shop owner and talked about what it's like owning a homebrew shop. So
you're missing out.
So Thomas, you've been at this for a year. What's it like owning a small homebrew shop?
It's awesome, Brad. I mean, I look around the shop and there's not too many beers I can't brew on a whim, you know. So that's pretty great. But more than just being able to brew whatever I want, it's the customers in the community is really awesome. I mean, it gives you kind of a foot in to talk to all these local guys who've been doing it for, a lot longer than I have. And I learned so much from them, but it's great. It is absolutely awesome.
That's awesome. Well, you bought an existing shop called Jay's Brewing, and I actually knew the original Jay back around, I think it was like 2002, 2003. He was selling stuff out of his basement. Yeah. He actually had a small townhouse. And I think he did that until the HOA caught up with him and finally stopped him from doing that or something like that. But anyways, my understanding is the place has changed hands a couple times since then, and obviously you've expanded. I mean, now you got a nice retail shop and everything.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about Jay's Brewing and how it sort of evolved over the years.
Sure. So I mean, just picking up from where you left off. Went from the basement of a townhouse. Ultimately, in 2007, a gentleman named Derek, who inevitably went by Jay after a while.
Derek,
as so do I, right?
Derek's called Jay, right?
Yeah, we're all Jay.
We are all Jay. Yes, we are. We are all Jay.
The wife is actually Jill, so that kind of works out. But
Jay and Jill.
Yeah, that's understandable. I'm Tom. I don't know where you get Jay, but. Needless to say, Derek bought it in 2007, and then he moved to the small retail space in Clifton.
Right.
And then from Clifton, I guess he started to get the customer base and things out there, and then from there he moved to where we are today, out here in Manassas.
Mm-hmm. And we're sitting right here. We got a nice grain display behind us. And,
Thank you.
Surrounded by equipment, and we turned the refrigerator off. It was a little noisy, but
yeah.
Got a nice fridge full of hops and yeast. That's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a labor of love. Getting all the stuff in here, understanding what we need to buy and get. What does the customer want? But it's great.
Well, obviously you didn't have to start from scratch here. But what are some of the challenges you ran into? Setting up your shop here?
Well, highlight a good point. There's definitely challenges associated with starting this from bare bones, nothing, right? We had some unique challenges, mostly associated with really getting the customer back. Derek had put a ton of work into this place, and I think, you know, in 2013, 2014, being the entrepreneur that he is, he, you know, really kind of shifted his focus to getting some more certifications and just, you know, his next steps. And, you know, the place started to suffer a little bit. At that time, many would note that Jay's was home to 2 cats, and sorry, Derek, but not the greatest.
I remember service. The cats, actually. Yeah.
A lot of people remember the cats. But so, just with that, with a number of things, our online presence had taken a negative, you know, hit associated with the social media, the Yelp. You know, we had some real bad Yelp reviews.
I mean, that stuff's really important these days, especially for a local shop.
Super important. Yeah. So, you know, day one when we took over this place, we realized that was going to be some of our challenges, and we just, you know, campaigned. We got out in the community, and we've been trying to bring those customers back, to really listen to our customers, many of which we consider our friends. You know, today, I mean, great customer base. So they tell us what they need. We get it in here, and you know, we'll just try to be successful doing that.
Yeah. Well, you made a lot of changes to the shop, and we talked a little bit about some of those. But you know, what were some of the major changes you made after buying it?
Well, sure. So we did. I mean, it's great that I can look around the shop and just kind of highlight some of the high points that we made.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Customer service was paramount, right? Jill has been great. My wife has been great, and she's a fast learner, and
you guys don't have any retail experience really.
No.
So you're not retail expert. You haven't even been homebrewing that long.
No, generally speaking, I hadn't been, and so it's definitely challenging. But we're not, you know, business people. I just realized that my homebrew shop was going to go away, and I was like, you know, at that time we had just had our second child, and so we were like, you know, Jill wasn't working, so we just said, okay, let's do it, you know.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Did you do this on a whim, or is it something you planned out?
No, pretty much. I mean, I was curious.
Hey, honey, let's open a homebrew store this weekend.
Yeah. Well, she was waiting.
Let's go buy a homebrew store, right?
She was waiting in the car. I'll never forget this, Brad. I know we're a little off track, but she was waiting in the car, and I'm feeling my all grain recipe or whatever, and you know, while I was in here with Derek, I was kind of like, what's going on, man? What's the next step for you? And he started to tell me kind of the things that he was working on. I very quickly realized that, you know, the homebrew shop wasn't in his future, and so I came back out to the car and I was like, we're gonna buy that homebrew shop.
You're kidding me.
So no, that was
I mean, how'd your wife react?
She was like, well, how much does he want for it, or something like just ambiguous. Like it wasn't a no, it wasn't a resounding no, which was it was positive. Well, what were we talking about?
So then how'd you go from there to talking her into actually running the plant? Because she's here most days. You have a regular job.
Yeah.
She's here most days running the place.
I homebrewed, right? I like high gravity beers, so I just kept pouring, and then eventually she. No, but sorry, to get back to your questions. The improvements we made. Customer service is crucial. We used to have these huge grain bins back here, and they took up a lot of space, Brad.
Sure.
So, and I realized that I wanted more varieties of grain specifically. So we went with what you see behind us today.
Right. And these put it up on the there. People can see them pretty clearly there now.
Yeah.
A lot nicer.
These are really great. Yeah, they help keep things fresh and clean and stuff like that. So. They're not cheap, but you know, we did things.
Good stuff.
Yeah, we did things incrementally. A lot of customers, they loved it because they would come in and say, "Oh, I see you got more grain bins." You know, I see you got more grain bins. But let's see. From that, then we went to. Actually, these are a little bit out of order, but all of our grain, or excuse me, our hops. They used to be in kind of like these single containers, right? You open a pound, you put it in there, and you shake it out, right?
Yeah.
Well, not really.
That's hard because then you're exposed to oxygen, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So from there, we kind of went to a little bit of a vacuum pack method where Jill and I would parse these things out, and eventually it just got to the point where we realized, hey, customers are coming back. They want freshness. You can't really see, but I've got like all the alpha acids written on the board back here.
Oh, nice.
And but maintaining that is a pain too. So I said, wait, this isn't making sense. So now we've got our 3-door fridge there with all of our hops and yeast, and everything's prepackaged and things like that, all on nitrogen. So that's really made a huge difference for our customers.
Yeah, I noticed you guys have a lot more equipment than you had before too.
Yeah, that's a great point. We got the SS BrewTech stuff in here, which is really, everybody likes to see that. Come in and touch it. And we encourage that, come in, test it. The only thing that kills me is like, I can't brew on it. I don't have that. You don't have
an SS BrewTech. He's got some nice stainless equipment over here we're pointing at.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll take some clips of it later. Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So, I've got Blickman and things like that we can choose from, but, we just wanted to be the soup to nuts homebrew shop, and we, figured out where we were deficient on that, and we're trying to, rectify all those.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, that brings me to my next question. You obviously purchased ingredients and equipment from a whole bunch of different companies at the wholesale level. Sort of, can you give us a description? I mean, you don't have to go into specific companies, but maybe sort of give us a description about how that works. How do you get stuff at the wholesale level and then bring it in here, retail it and price it and all those things? Yeah,
it is. It's great. I mean, today the people are set up to be distributors, right? And so we definitely targeted getting the largest of the distributors, and I think today we have most, if not all of the best ones, and which is great. It really helps me out because then I don't have to go out and negotiate prices with each and every one of the smaller vendors, right?
Right, because you don't want to go to every single little maker
it would be difficult.
of I don't know what
bottling
lines or caps or whatever, and try and find them yourselves. So I assume you go to some of these bigger companies. Like I had some guys on from BSG a while back,
BSG
for example.
And yes, we get great customer service from BSG, and we love those guys. So absolutely, we'll get a pallet or two, of every week of stuff, and.
That's got to be cool, selling a pallet of homebrew equipment, right?
Yeah, I guess it is. It is pretty. Well, it's cool getting it because it's like
humbling,
Christmas,
isn't it? To move a pallet worth of stuff every week. That's great.
Yeah. So it's fun. I mean, we used to. Now I'm thinking back. We used to take selfies in front of like the big pallet of bottles, and sacks of grain because it was so exciting to just get all of this stuff. But I remember, when we very first opened, we'd get like a half a pallet because we couldn't afford to get all these things, and we were buying like as little as we could across everything, and it was great. I mean, managing the cash flow there, right? Sure, yeah. You got to manage the cash flow when you're running a business. Yeah. But so other than that, with the let's see, we're still talking about kind of wholesale. Yeah, we're talking about wholesale. So give us an overall flow. I mean, how does this work? You buy stuff at a certain percentage or whatever, something like that. Yeah. And I assume you have to mark it up, obviously, to cover your expenses. And absolutely. And do you have to work with a lot of suppliers, or can you get just most of it from just a couple suppliers? How does that work? Well, your grain, your hops, your malt extracts, some of your smaller equipment like your funnels, I'm just again looking around the shop here, muslin bags, things like that. You can generally get from one or two of the major distributors. It's when you start getting into the SS BrewTechs and the Blickmans where you kind of have to go out to their specific brand. So you have to go out to Blickman, for example, and negotiate with them, or of course, and that's higher capital equipment too. I mean, you're buying, some of these systems are thousands of dollars. Obviously. Yes, and so you just, get accounts and maintain your relationships with these guys. I only carry the White Labs. I think they have a great product. And frankly, their new packaging is fantastic. I like it. The yeast lasts longer. It's fresher. So it's really nice. The only thing with those is that people are having trouble cutting them. So if you're listening, but I think they're great. Well, actually, I'm having Chris White on in a couple weeks. So if you got some specifics, is people having trouble cutting the pouch or something? Well, no, it's a great. I mean, I should just do a demo, right? No, but I've had several customers, talk about the best way to cut those open, which I found my way that works. So I share that with them. But no, I mean, absolutely. What really matters is the freshness.
Well, it's kind of neat. A lot of I had Chris on a year or two ago talking about they were just coming out with those things, and they actually package it right. They grow it and package it right in that package. So I think that's one reason it has kind of a little tougher than your average foil pouch or something like that. Yeah. Well, are there certain ingredients that are harder than others to get? Are there some things that are really tough to get, or maybe brands of grain or brands of varieties of hops that are hard to get, that kind of a thing?
I haven't really run into that much. Occasionally we'll get maybe shorted a few pounds of whatever hop, and that we just attribute to kind of the way of the business. Somebody else ordered well and above what they needed, or whatever the reason is. Occasionally we won't get the hops that we need.
And you're still ordering hops by the pound, right?
Yeah. I'll order them. They're already prepackaged, so I will order pounds, prepackaged pounds, but I'll also order the prepackaged 1 ounce.
Oh, you do? So you have 1 ounce, as well,
Yeah, just for freshness. And things.
Yeah, I would imagine some hops are certainly hard to get, like things like Equinox and some of these other ones.
Yes,
very difficult to
get. And really, the biggest deficiency I have is that I won't know. I won't realize, what's coming out, and I'm trying to run
or what the next hot hop might be, right?
Right.
Who's going to have the one that the next mosaic or something?
Exactly. But generally, no. I mean, I can source things. I mean, beg, borrow, and steal, right? I haven't had to steal any hops, but if you're in with the community and you don't have some Amarillo or something, I could reach out to one of the guys and say, hey, can you spot me some Amarillo? Hey, can you spot me some Amarillo?
Yeah, man, give me some Amarillo.
So
nice.
Things like that happen, but I don't really have anything hard to get.
So you're able to get most of the things you really want to get. Pretty easy to get then.
Yeah.
So, well, a lot of folks are familiar with the big online shops, right? And obviously, kind of like Amazon's putting a lot of pressure on, Walmart and a lot of the local retailers. The big online companies have been putting pressure on a lot of the local homebrewers for years. But there are some unique things that you can get at your local homebrew shop, that are just really not possible to do, browsing a web page online or something like that.
Right.
So, what are some of the advantages that the local homebrew shop offers that you really can't get from a web page somewhere?
Right. Well, you certainly bring up the elephant in the room, right? It always is when you're talking to the local supply guy. Everybody's like, even the customers, they're like, I got this recipe, and they feel bad. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Those guys are doing great. They're doing great work. And but as far as like what I'm bringing to the community, it's big on interpersonal relationships. It's knowing your customers, and then really there's things that are difficult to ship through online. Your CO2s, your ice. Customers are doing ice.
Bottles.
I mean, all these things. Fresh yeast. I know a lot of online distributors. They're being responsible and saying, hey, look, we can't vouch for the path between here and there.
Yeah, I know some sell like ice packs and stuff in with it or whatever. Right. Yeah, that kind of thing.
But I don't know if you could tell, Brad, but I'm a young guy and I've been buying online.
Sure.
That's my.
You're not new to this whole internet thing like I am.
No, right? No, I don't think you're new to it. But it's just you definitely have to create that value. You definitely have to let them come in here and touch the SS Brew Tech, and you got to come in here and let them grab some of these right here, and let them crush it up and smell it and understand. You got to enable them to be the brewmaster, and that's a little bit. I think it's a little bit hard for them to do when they're just staring at the web page, right?
At a screen, somewhere, right? Yeah.
So,
and you guys are also tied in with the local community, right?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the
local brewing community, local clubs.
Yes. Very, very close. And the one thing I was going to say.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. and I might have just lost my train of thought.
It's all good, man. We were talking about, you were originally talking about the ability, you know, to bring people into the hobby and some of the advantages that you have as a homebrew shop.
Yeah, there was two other points I was going to make. Is that
sure?
I said I'm not new to the online thing, right? Well, I try to say, hey, look, I know you can go online and I know you can shop, you know, so let me do everything I can, and to include price. Like I'm always trying to, you know, meet or beat those online prices. And it's not always easy,
right?
But where I can, I do it. And then if there's anything else where I can create value by, you know, giving you your ice for free, or, you know, whatever it is, loyalty programs, things like that, I'll do.
Do you guys have a loyalty program of some kind?
So no, I won't say that we do. We offer like the AHA discounts. We offer
that's
the
fantastic.
military,
the AHA discount, sure.
And
military discount.
Military discount. I mean,
there's a lot of military in this area. I can tell you that.
There really is. Yeah.
We're in the D.C. area, of course. For those of you who don't know where Manassas is.
Yeah. But and brew club discounts. You know, so we definitely want to come up with that loyalty program. We just kind of haven't figured out one that we love. We don't like the punch cards. We don't like the point system, you know, so.
I get tired of carrying all these cards around for Giant and all these other places.
Sure, yeah. But
that's cool.
With regards to the brew clubs, you know, you asked about them. We've got, I mean, as far as I can tell, you know, I read posts and things, we've got some of the best homebrew clubs in the area. Like downright obsessed homebrewers, right? They go by DOH. And you visited a lot of these guys.
I spoke at a few of them. Yeah, there's Burp is a huge one.
Burp
I know.
Is huge,
there's a number of them up in Maryland as well.
Yeah,
close here.
I mean, 50 West.
50, I've actually spoken out at 50 West as
well. And we were out there at Ocelot.
I think I'm going out there. I think I'm going out there again sometime in the next couple months. Yeah,
great guys.
Yeah, they
Chris,
are.
The president out there, he's a real smart guy, well organized, and it was good because I got to meet Michael Tonsmeyer out there. And
Michael's a good guy. Yeah, I've had him
you just had him on.
He was on, just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so that was really good. But you know, and then Prince William Brewers Guild. You know, I'm just kind of speaking to the ones that are in these guys. Yeah. So, and what I love is that, you know, just to highlight the community aspect of it, is that DOH, they'll meet out at Tin Cannon, the brewery. Sure. You know, the brewery opens up for them. Ocelot opens for 50 West. I mean, that's awesome. Prince William Brewers Guild, you know, they kind of move around, but all real, you know, smart guys, and it's nice that I can reach out to them and say, hey, I've got a new brewer, I'm sending them your way, you know, and man, I can't tell you how many of those guys I've sent over there, and they come back and they're like, oh, I went to the meeting and it was great, you know. And I try to go to different meetings. Seems like more I go to DOH more than anything else.
That's cool.
They're close, you know.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that brings me to my next question. You know, local shops obviously play a key role in getting new people into the hobby, because most people don't go order their first first kit from, you know, one of these big online shops.
Yeah.
Quite often they'll come in here and they'll go, hey, I want to get into brewing, or maybe somebody will refer them over here and they'll get started that way. So tell us, you know, some of the things that you do for new brewers, really.
Well, just like I was saying, you know, I send people out there to the homebrew clubs. They'll also, as they meet people, they send them to me, and then we try to get out to some of the other related events. You know, if there's a brew fest, you know, last year we went out to the brew fest. We were peddling our cards, you know, hey, come out. So I think that really the biggest barrier is that people don't know that they can brew. You know, it's like, what, I can brew beer on my stove in my kitchen? Like, that's amazing, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people, I still run into people who don't know it's legal.
Right,
it's legal in all 50 states now, but, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. So, but I am working with the guys at Heritage Brewing just across the street here to come up with a class, right? We want to get people engaged through their brewery and you know, tell them about the hobby, tell them about beer and the history of beer, and then, you know, what makes a beer, hops, yeast, you know, all these things. So it's kind of a multifaceted effort. I mean, you know, I'm out there in the community. Jill, you know, other friends of the shop, they're always trying to tell people about it.
Yeah, and Jill's here every day, basically. Right?
Yeah,
running the shop. Yeah.
Yes, she does a great job. I have brewed with people here in the shop. Some of my favorite brewers are the ones that are like stumbled in from the street, right, and weren't really sure, had heard, has a friend or something, and then we'll brew in here, and it's really fulfilling. I mean,
So I'm excited about these. So you starting to do planning to do some training classes too.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Well, it's in development, right? So I figured
R&D.
Yeah, so R&D.
Like I'm working on the next version of BeerSmith, but it's it's a challenge. Hoping to get it out in a couple of months, but
very nice. Well, I look forward to that. That'll be great.
Yeah.
I figured there's a few classes, right? There's the 101 level, history of beer, what's beer made of, the vocab. But then you can kind of move into more of you just step up from there, the 102 or something where it's, everybody brews a gallon themselves on separate little stations. In my back room, I kind of want to, right now it's kind of in disarray, but I want to turn that into more of a classroom space.
More of a classroom. You got some room back there.
There's a little bit of room. I mean, I don't know where the grain's going to stay. Put a silo out here on the side or something.
Silo sounds like a great idea to me.
The only home brew shop with a silo. I don't know if that's accurate, but yeah. So, and then a lot of people, probably the most sought after class is the, hey, I want to do all grain. Right.
Yeah, going to all grain is big. I think this year, I talked this a couple episodes ago, but I think this year's the first year we've actually seen more people in all grain than extract. So we finally kind of crossed that line. We got more people brewing all grain now than we do.
Well, brewing a bag probably had a lot to do with that, right? I mean,
yeah, it makes it a lot easier, but it's been a trend for quite a few years now. When I entered the hobby, it was almost all extract.
Yeah.
And then even in the 90s, late 90s, it was probably 70-75% extract, and now it's finally flipped.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing all grain go all.
I love it. I just love it. Yeah.
So the all grain course probably be very popular.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of local businesses the last couple of years have seen a small decline in business actually, and this is across the whole industry. And I had Gary Glass on a few episodes back talking about that. But have you guys seen that locally, or have you seen a growth, or how have you been holding up?
Well,
I know you've only been doing it a short time, but
yeah. So we've seen a huge growth.
You've seen a huge growth.
But yeah, I mean, my numbers, we really have, but my numbers are biased, right? Because of the state that Jay's was in and how we had to kind of bring back these customers. These customers, they were already there. So, it's harder to really count them. I mean, a lot of them had swore off.
Do you have any idea how many customers you have? Is it hundreds, thousands, or I mean, you probably have a pretty good track, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't want to
I don't need an exact number. Just is it hundreds, thousands?
There's probably, well, let's see. I have over 2,000 email addresses.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's great.
I mean, Northern Brewers like, ha ha ha.
Yeah, well, they got a few more than 2,000 maybe, but
But I mean, I think that's pretty good for my little shop here, my little slice.
No, it's fantastic. That's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah.
So, but you've seen pretty good growth in the last year, because you've been at it about a year now, just over a year now.
Yeah, if I compare, the numbers of the previous owner and my numbers, there's been a clear growth. I don't have those figures on me right now, but I was happy.
I don't need to know the numbers. Yeah.
But that was exciting for me because the day that I took over from the day that I took over to today, it's huge. It's astronomical. I mean, 100%, growth, and I'm like, well, okay, but a lot of customers came back, so, but even still, I see this continuing to grow.
That's fantastic. Where do you see homebrew go over the next couple of years? What's your opinion?
All sour.
All sour?
All sours.
There's a lot of people brewing sours. There's 2 hours of Rape. Michael Tonsmeyer, of course, wrote the sour book, American Sour Book.
Yeah. No, I think it'll continue to grow. I mean, I did see the data that it kind of saw a decrease last year, but the community is very peer-to-peer driven, and people are so passionate about it that I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, and I think it will continue to grow as more and more people start to engage with the general populace about brewing and about the fact that you can brew. You know, here, try this. You know, who doesn't love a good pint, right? And especially the one that I made. Right?
Yeah, and I mean the craft beer industry is still growing by leaps and bounds now. I think we got more craft beer, more craft breweries now than we had before Prohibition, which is pretty incredible, really, if you think about it. So, well, good. What are some of the other challenges you ran into? Just you know, this whole. You mentioned you didn't have a business background,
right?
And I don't think your wife has a business background either. Right? Right,
yeah. That's
so were there any challenges associated with running a business for the first time? Were you aware of all the fun taxes and regulations you had to comply with?
Yeah, that was a surprise. That was a surprise. You know, we got bit once or twice. But, you know, small things. You find out you have to pay your own taxes and they don't come out of a paycheck. Yeah, there's things like that. Quarterly taxes that aren't actually charged quarterly is always interesting to me. But challenges, you know, there are challenges that I love, like figuring out, you know, which one of these is going to sell during which month. You know, obviously your dark malts they sell more in wintertime.
Oh, in the wintertime, sure, that makes sense.
And so that's really cool to see that and be like, oh, that's why. You know, find those correlations.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I do. My business does a lot more in the winter than the summer because I think more people are brewing in the winter than the summer, so it kind of makes sense.
Which initially to me was counterintuitive. I think, you know, people get outside, they get outdoors, but now, you know, now it's like obviously, you know. But when I bought this place, I should share with you some of the photos from you know, the opening day, but. There was like nothing on the walls. Nothing. We didn't have anything. We were out of base malt. I mean, we're out of 2-row, and
those are kind of important. Having you know, a little bit of base malts, a little bit of 2-rows.
Right. But it was the community really came you know, behind me on that. So Bad Wolf, they're in the same shopping center as me, and they helped me out.
Bad Wolf is I should mention Bad Wolf is a very small. Well, it was a small. It was a small homebrew shop, I should say. A friend of mine actually started it with 15-gallon electric brew pots, right?
Yeah.
Jeremy's his name. And then he since has expanded, opened a very large brewery now just down the street.
Yeah, call it Big Bad.
Big Bad Brewery.
Yeah.
Or Big Bad Wolf, I guess we would call it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Probably one of my favorite stories, though, is... that first week, you know, we sent out emails letting people know, hey, it's under new ownership, you know. Jill and I were both in here, and we're out of things. We're apologizing up and down for the state that it was in, and but you know, people were just excited to see that it was that we were going to do something different with it. And but I'll never forget. I don't know if you know Charles. Cleaning out at Old Bus Head.
No, I don't know.
Oh, you got to meet him. Yeah. Great guy. I mean, so brewmaster out at Old Bus Head in Ben Hill, and he come in here. I didn't know, you know, who he was, but he walks in here, and we're talking for a minute, and I was telling him, you know, that we're out of this and we're out of that, and he had just seen my email, you know, basically saying that it was under new ownership, and then he was like, well, you know, what are you out of? He said, well, why don't you come by the brewery?
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah, you know, why don't you come by the brewery and I can lend you some grain, you know, or some ingredients.
He's going to give you some malt.
Yeah, and I was like, that saved my butt, you know, frankly, because I was like,
really cool.
And actually at that time, I remember why this was so important, was because there was an issue with the BSG so I had opened, but I didn't technically have them as a distributor, and that's where I had intended. So I was like, you know, I didn't know where I was going to get some of this stuff, but yeah, he really helped me out. Thanks, Charles. Wherever.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you, is there anything else you wanted to add? Any closing comments, maybe, or closing thoughts? You know, thoughts on maybe what advice you might give to somebody who might be thinking about opening up their own brew shop someday?
Well, yeah, a couple off-topic things, but
sure, go
certainly,
ahead.
if you're thinking about doing this, you just have to be passionate about it. Right? Honestly, you gotta listen to your customers because they're going to tell you what they want. It will take away from your brewing. I'll tell you that.
No, you're not brewing as much as you were.
Well, I still do.
I figure you just sit here all day in the shop and brew beer, right? Or drink beer.
It's one or the other, right?
Yeah.
No, it takes away more from like the research aspect of like, my own personal brewing. That's what it's taken away from. I still am able to brew quite a bit because I'll brew with friends.
Now it's a business. It's not a hobby anymore.
I've
run into the same thing. I don't brew as much as I brew. Yeah. I brewed more before. I was doing BeerSmith full time anyways than I do now, but.
You just have to realize that, now you're supporting all these other brewers.
Yeah.
So you need to do that better. You need to do that the best, right? But the only other thing that I would really add, Brett, is that I'm sure you hear this all the time. Thank you, for all the brewers out there that don't have the opportunity to talk to you. Your podcast, everything, your blog, and your software. I mean, wow, thank you so much for that because I know that's where I started and that's what has helped me to learn. I mean that cut my education.
I just try and chip away and put out a little more content every week, another article or another podcast.
Well, there's
whatever.
There's a huge amount of people that would really love to sit here and say thank you. So I'll do that for them.
That's very kind, but yeah. Any other thoughts on somebody, maybe looking at this business? Is it a good business to be in? Is it a challenging business to be in? Obviously, you said you have to be passionate.
You got to be passionate. It is challenging. It's dusty. I'll say that.
Is it? A lot of dust flying around?
With the electric mill going, quite a bit during the day.
Yeah, we turned that off for the podcast. We thought maybe that would be a little loud. But,
yeah. It's challenging. It's rewarding. I don't know. I guess that probably goes with any business, though.
Yeah. I have to say though, for me at least, when I finally did quit my day job and started doing this full time, man, it was fantastic. Just having kind of control over my own time, control over my own destiny. It made all the difference for me at least.
That's good.
I don't know. I'm hoping you're finding the same thing.
Well,
plus it's fun. I mean, people ask you what you do for a living.
Yeah.
Right? What do you. I help people homebrew. That's what I do.
That's awesome. I still work my other job, but
I know you're still working a little bit, but that's okay.
But you're trying to make me quit and just go full time.
Well, you get there eventually. Yeah. But I'm glad you took the step and took over the business, and because we need the local homebrew shop is really the core of the business, especially for bringing new people in, and it's one of the challenges, obviously, and interestingly, I guess when we talked to Gary Glass at the industry level, he was talking about, there are new people still coming into the hobby. The only challenge they've had is a lot of the people that are in the hobby are still brewing, but they're not maybe brewing as much as they were at one time, things like that. Because, life gets in the way and people get busy, work or kids or whatever. But,
I get customers that say, they'll stroll in here because they've seen it, from the street or whatever, and they're like, I haven't brewed in 25 years. But when I did, I was all grain, or I was this, I was that, and it's great because we just pick them up right where they left off,
Yeah, I mean it's a great hobby because, and even me, I went in and out over the years. Sometimes I was brewing a lot, sometimes I wasn't brewing much at all, and because like you said, life gets in the way, kids going on or whatever, and so that's great. Well, Thomas, thanks again for coming on the show. Really,
it's an honor to be here, Brad. Seriously,
really appreciate you being here. And thanks again to Thomas Bowen for joining me this week. Thomas is the owner of Jay's Brewing in Manassas, Virginia. And he's been brewing since 2012 and owned the shop for the last year. Thanks again, Thomas.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again to Thomas Boman for joining me this week. Thanks also to Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine, the premier magazine for home brewing and craft beer fans. Check out this month's special issue on saisons, profiles of top brewers, and beercation ideas. Subscribe today at beerandbrewing.com. with Anvil at anvilbrewing.com. Again, that's anvilbrewing.com. And finally, BeerSmith software, the industry standard for home and professional brewers. It lets you design great beer recipes and brew with confidence. Download your free 21-day trial today from BeerSmith.com. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great brewing week.